a voice kept telling me, your time here is over. Financial services product, and did some technology companies when it was hot in the 90s. And, why, should I make this change? Why start a new business at this point in time, in my life? I know it's very simplistic, but it really was that simple. And so when someone is making a decision about their health care, their retirement, or their family's protection, they want to talk to someone they trust, help people, make friends, and have fun.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of the Insurance Distribution Podcast. I'm here today with Miguel Delgado, CEO and founder of We Make Insurance Easy. Miguel, how are you? It is great to meet you.
I'm doing terrific today. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
It's our pleasure. It's great to have guests from all over the world. Where are you dialing in from today?
I'm in Baton Rouge, Louisiana today.
Excellent. That is great. So to start with the origin, let's dive right away. Now let's break the ice a little bit. Tell us about the origin of We Make Insurance Easy. You have grown your agency into a multi-state agency, but let's start from the beginning. How this was created, how you started it, which was your background back then, so that we can then dive into multiple questions from that.
Absolutely. So I have been in the insurance industry for many years, mainly in life, and I did some financial services product and did some technology companies when it was hot in the 90s and so forth. And then in early in the 2000s, I went on and got hired by one of the top Medicare carriers in the nation, and it was such a wonderful experience. I was in the management side of the business and worked with some great people, had the opportunity to hire some incredible people. And so that went on for about 10 years. But then one of the things that happened, I have a quiet time every morning and, having my word with God every day before I start. And in 2016, a voice kept telling me, your time here is over. And I said, man, I'm 65 years old. I want to retire here. I don't want to go some other place. So anyway, this went on for about 8 or 9 months, this going on. And so basically what the message I was getting from reading different things is there were some changes happening in the industry. And I really wasn't paying attention because I loved doing what I was doing. I loved doing it where I was. But there were some changes that could affect being with a single carrier. And I really felt so. Actually, 9 years ago at the end of this month, we started Elite Partners, which I'll get into the We Make Insurance Easy part a little bit later. But that's how we got here and started this in 2017. And it's been an incredible experience. I wouldn't trade it for the world.
It's amazing. That's a great entrepreneurial mindset, especially when you were mentioning that on the one side you were close to retirement in the company, and on the other side was, okay, let's start a new venture. That is should have been an interesting decision, especially with your family at the time. It's like, yeah. So you're about to turn 9, as you mentioned. This was started in 2017. What was kind of okay, you mentioned your intention or this message that you were receiving continuously to not work only for one carrier, to do it multiple. Then you decide to go to your agency to build your own. What gap or what opportunity you saw at the time that made you do like a hyper local education first approach to compete to big players that were already consolidated in the market? What did you see and what did you do to be able to compete at that level?
Well, as I was going through all this personal digging as to, why, should I make this change? Why start a new business at this point in time, in my life and so forth? One of the things that came up is that for years, many of us that were working in the industry, in the Medicare industry, were captive agents or, captive leaders and managers representing a single Medicare carrier. And that worked well when there were fewer options in the market. But around that time, we began seeing a wave of new carriers expanding into Louisiana and the surrounding states. At the same time, during that time, National call centers were starting to aggressively market Medicare plans, especially during AEP. Seniors were suddenly getting bombarded with television ads, mail pieces, phone calls. That created two major challenges for me at that time. It was first, seniors were more confused than ever. And look, I'm a senior, and my wife is a senior. And so I watched her a lot as to how seniors react. So, they were hearing about multiple plans, different carriers, different benefits, and there weren't many agencies and agents locally they trusted to help them sort all that out. So the second piece was captive agents were starting to feel the pressure. When you represent only one carrier, but a client has 10 options in the market, it becomes very difficult to fully serve them. And lastly, agents were looking for someone that could provide a more thorough training and assisting them to build a legacy business. And at that moment is what made me realize the industry was shifting toward independent, educational-based advisory models. The approach built very quickly because people could feel the difference. They weren't being sold, they were being guided, and the same was for the new agents and future leaders that were coming on board with us. And that's really how our culture started. We built the business around simple idea: help people, make friends, and have fun. And to this day, it's on our walls in our offices and everything we do. That's our mission statement. It's very simple.
So I understand this is easy to say and do when you are kind of the owner empowering this very hyper local approach, education first. I think what I'd like to understand next is how you were able to go through what you call this zip domination, right? The zip code domination, when you were growing, not only inside the city, but also outside the city and outside states. You currently operate across Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, Georgia, and Virginia. Like, how do you expand these outside your own way of doing things? Like, how do you hire? How do you train? What are the key aspects that you find very relevant to accomplish this mission that, as you have said, has been successful because you solve a real pain for the end customer, very personalized?
Yeah, and great question because it was painful.
Mhm.
I didn't take any income for about 18 months, so it was painful in a lot of different ways. But when we say dominate zip codes, when we talk about that, we don't mean saturating it with ads and so forth. We mean becoming known and trusted in each community that we worked in. On the ground, this is what it looks like, hosting local Medicare education events, building partnerships with pharmacies, senior centers, and community leaders, meeting people face to face, following up consistently, becoming the go-to resource for Medicare questions. We wanted people in that area to say, hey, if you have a Medicare question, call the We Make Medicare Easy team. Once you have that reputation in one area, the referrals begin to multiply. There's nothing easier and less expensive than building your customer base up, support them in a big way, stay in touch with them, and the referrals come from that. And that's what we've done. We felt that the offices in each one of these areas were going to be important, and they have been. So, once we have a reputation in one area, the referrals do begin to multiply. Then we repeat the process, the next zip codes. That's how you grow organically and sustain it instead of trying to grow everywhere all at once. Because I've run and started other businesses along the way, I knew that trying to scale up all in different places at once was not going to work. But the main thing that transpired, answer to your question, is that one of the things that in talking to our agents that I work with at that particular carrier, I didn't realize that many of them had the same views as I did. And when I announced that I was retiring, they said, well, what are you going to do? And I said, well, I think I'm going to start an agency. And I said, why? The same questions you're asking me. And realized that they wanted to do the same thing. So whenever I retired at that point in time, and 2 days later, I opened this up, the phone calls started coming in. And a lot of these captive agents says, man, I want to make a change. I want to serve my people better and I want to do this better. So that's how we were able to do this. And we became very selective and along the way with hiring people. We made some mistakes in the hiring. It was just, let's bring everybody in. Well, long term, that did not work. We had to make a lot of adjustments in there. But that was the point how we got here, and how we captured the zip code. So then we started, as not everybody left at the same time or came to us at the same time. It was a gradual process. And so as we started going to other states that I had worked in with this carrier in a management situation, some of the people started calling me, hey, listen, I want to come with you. I want to do this. I love what you're doing and what I'm hearing. So that's what we did. We started building the next set of zip codes in that other state. We didn't just go out here in Louisiana and say we're going to go all over the state. We didn't. We had to find those leaders in those places that we could grow through that zip code dominance. Does that make sense to you there?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
To get numbers, how many people are currently working with the firm?
Right now, we have about 134 agents.
That's crazy.
And we had a lot more, but in making those adjustments and corrections and bringing the right people on board for our culture, that's we kind of pulled back and started hiring a little bit more intelligently.
And how do you do like culture alignment when you're in different states? Like, do you happen to have different places where you get together? Maybe not all of you, but some of you. Like, given that the agents ideally are outside talking to clients, but eventually on the internal culture, it might be tough to connect them. How do you manage these
Yeah.
beings?
So the culture that we brought is something that we brought with us from the former company that we were employed with, and early in my career, I was with another international firm, and worked overseas for many years, and there was an incredible family culture there. So that was my first major job, and I said, man, if I ever start a business, this is the culture I want to have. It's family oriented, great support, great training, being there for people. I always say I'm never going to lose a friend over a business deal, and I'm not. Even people that have left us along the way and so forth, I'm still friends with them. The other great thing that we did is that, I'll get to that a little bit later, but was on the expansion on going to the four-legged stool, not just Medicare of expanding, but we
That was
can get
actually
to
my
that.
question. Like, let me connect
Oh,
with
okay.
that exactly because that's exactly my question. Like, we all know a lot of agencies that die and live and die actually with the annual enrollment, but there are opportunities that you've been doing with a playbook that I'll be interested in getting to know deeper on how to explore revenue outside this AEP, and at the same time diversification in terms of types of products that you can also provide to your customers. And I understand you go to wealth, life, dental. So I'd be interested once you build that trust. Like, how do you expand further? Again, without sounding too salesy. At the same time, delivering good value. Like,
Yeah,
tell us a little bit about the
yeah.
strategy there.
Let's talk a little bit about how do you expand into that four-legged. So we call it the four-legged stool. In fact, I'm looking at a stool that my son, who's 36 years old, made when he was 3, and I always use it as my four-legged stool over there. But the diversification kind of happened naturally to us. So, when we sit down with clients long enough, and that was one of the big things for us, is to be able to sit down with a customer ongoing. We have, and we'll get to that point here as soon as I answer this. When we sit with them long enough, which we do it very often, you realize that Medicare solves one piece of the financial protection puzzle, but not all of it. Clients begin asking questions. Hey, what happens if I got cancer? Hey, I need dental and vision. Hey, what happens to my spouse if something happens to me? So those questions naturally led to final expenses on the life insurance side, Affordable Care Act, Obamacare for under 65, other supplemental protection products such as hospital indemnities and other cancer policies and things of that type. But one of the things that we found out that some of the leaders that were leading in these particular office, when we had somebody new come on, they would say, "Hey, I want you to give them this carrier 1, 2, 3 on the Medicare side, and I want you to get them these 3 life insurance policies and these 4 ancillary products." It was overwhelming for these new agents. And so what we did, we took a step back and I said, look, let's not overwhelm the agents with everything at once. So, we got our onboarding team and, so now we teach each agent to master Medicare first and then expand their knowledge to additional solutions to help the clients. That way we remain consultants, not product pushers. So, that's how we made that transition. I know it's very simplistic, but it really was that simple. And that's made the biggest difference when people start looking at, as you well know, start taking a look at that they're growing a business that they can build, whether it is the legacy to sell it later on, and we have the ability to help them with that. But everything has been it's been really wonderful the way that's all going, and it goes back to the little story I told you at the beginning, that movie and those thoughts that kept running. I was getting a clear picture of what this would look like today, but it took me that whole year to realize what was going through my mind.
That is great, and actually, you're providing me with the great connectors because the last topic that I would like to chat about is about technology, especially connected with your strategy that is hyper local, very consultative approach, the trusted advisor to start from Medicare and then into multiple lanes, not the sales pusher, but the consultant, as you mentioned. The company was born in 2017. We were already all internet users. Well, not all, but most of us were internet users. A very digital world. You still took the approach that maybe at that point was counterintuitive. Like, instead of going all digital, let's go more local, let's go more specific relationships. And now we are entering a new era, which is the artificial intelligence era, that it could multiply us to multiple jobs at the same time. Let's chat a little bit about your vision around technology and how you can embed technology into making your virtuous circle better and not worse.
Well, let me, I think this is such an interesting and overwhelming subject for a lot of people. But again, I have to tell you a personal story. We still have a few minutes. In those years that I retired from my job overseas, I had some injuries and so forth, and most of my work was done overseas. And so I came home, and financially we were okay. I wasn't in a hurry to do anything, but that's when the World Wide Web and AOL and all this was in the late, in the mid '90s and so forth. Well, I had a really great friend, and I was able to work with him. He had a couple of startups. One of them was the first internet service provider in the Baton Rouge area. The second is that we started building websites, which very few people were doing that at the time. So, we got heavy into the technology part. I became part of me. And so I really dove into the technology side. I'll tell you. So we went to a meeting. I'm not going to tell you the gentleman's name that was at this meeting. We were part of a board. Remember, this was during AOL days, America Online. So there was a gentleman there at that meeting that he was doing a lot of broadcasting across the nation. At the time, and it was unheard of. A lot of radio stations and so forth. And I got a call from the athletic director here at LSU, And he says, "Hey, man, I understand you're doing some neat things with all this. Are you able to broadcast anything over the internet?" And so, you know what? We haven't done that, but we sat with a gentleman the other day that's doing this. So anyway, we within 2 weeks we broadcast the first ever women's college basketball game over the internet, over the World Wide Web, because there was no internet at the time. So anyway, we continued to grow that, and it grew in a big way that we were doing the legislature here, this and that. So I knew that this was going to change. We would do things in Tiger Stadium here with a camera that we would get in the middle of the field and take a 360 around the stadium so people could see everybody that was in the stadium. And I'm getting to a point, I promise. I approached a real estate owner here. He had the biggest real estate company at the time. I said, "Hey, let me show you." And I've done a sample of selling a house over the World Wide Web, with a camera, that 360 camera. Went into each room, took it, and said, "This is the way you're going to sell houses in the future." It says it's not going to get rid of your agents, but people are going to have more access. He says, "There's no way this is going to work. People aren't going to buy that." And here we are. But so anyway, I became enthralled with technology. So we have a lot of technology in our business. We had it from day one because that was my makeup, and I knew that it was going to be important. I fell in love with artificial intelligence. So in this industry, it's got AI has got its great points, and look, and we use it. We use it a lot in lead generation. We use it in marketing automation, data analysis, the CRM follow-ups, administrative tasks. But what AI can't replace in this industry, especially with the seniors, is human trust and empathy. It won't do it. And so when someone is making a decision about their health care, their retirement, or their family's protection, they want to talk to someone they trust. Now, the technology should enhance relationships, not replace them. So that's, the future belongs to agencies that combine all these things: smart technology, strong systems, and authentic human relationships. So that's how we're using it. We do a lot of social media marketing. Again, we were doing that. I didn't feel we were doing it well enough, so we went and hired a company, and they've been absolutely amazing in helping us do this. So now it's helping us get out a little bit faster, away from those immediate zip codes. And so we hire through there now. We do all our marketing through there. We do some great fun videos. I mean, we have one that we posted recently. I know it doesn't sound like much. We posted, and within a few hours, we had like 16,000 views. And it was just a question that we're asking seniors and customers and friends, "Hey, so you're a senior. What was your first car that you got?" And everybody was saying, "I had a 1968, Mustang. It was the best car ever." So we had about 10 people do that, and just like that, and it's continued to grow. So we'll try to do things that the seniors can connect to, through the different sources that we're doing it. So it's just been terrific in doing that, and we're going to continue to grow. I love AI, and I think it's going to continue to grow. I don't see it, and that's been a big talk within our industry. I don't see it replacing, people like myself, our great partners that we have here, and so forth. I just don't see it. Not with the senior market. It could be in some of the other areas, but not in this market.
Hmm. Let me bring you a statement to see if it is aligned with what you just said, but in the other way. Like, there's a good space for AI in tasks that are not directly connected to building trust with the customer. But when there's trust that is being at risk, it is likely not a good place for AI. Would that kind of summarize it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and especially with the senior market. Look, and again, I go back to my wife and I say, "Hey, what do you think about this?" I said, "Well, I don't trust that." I said, "What's what comes out of her mouth, you know?" So I said, "Okay, tell me why." So I go through these processes when we have people come in the offices at this,
She's a consultant without knowing.
and cheap.
And chief consultant, yeah. She better not listen to this.
But yeah, it's I agree with you on that. It'll never replace that trust, but it can damage some things. Some of the things that we're seeing with AI and social media marketing, you may have seen this, is that you start to see some of the design of the ads and so forth. I mean, I can tell them just like that. And for some reason, the seniors are not connecting with that. As we look at all our data from each one of our ads, and we'll run some of that just to show our team, don't just use AI to design all this. We've got a designer, we got a company that does this. Utilize this.
Miguel, it's been a great conversation. Thanks for providing all these experiences to the table. Congratulations on your great success on My Elite Partners. This will still keep going, so we'll, of course, keep track of that. But to finish, I'd like to ask you three questions that are more on the personal note, so that people that are listening to this for the first time, they're getting to know you, they can also connect with this. If you were to recommend a book, which book would you recommend?
Man, that's a good because I read about and listen to about 50 books a year. I'm a big John Maxwell uh, fan. So the 25 leadership rules to me is one of my favorites. I read it at least once a year.
Excellent. I know you have other options, but let's stick to that one. That is great. Which has been the band, the music band of your life, if you need to pick one?
Man, the Eagles,
The Eagles.
without question.
No salsa.
Now, I love the Eagles. Or I mean, I play music. I got a guitar here. I love music, and but the Eagles, that I grew up with the Beatles and the Beach Boys. They're all great, but the Eagles, I don't know, man. I just love their
Conquered
harmonies
you.
and their music. Yeah,
Amazing. And finally, if you were able to pick someone dead or alive to have a dinner with, who would you pick?
man, that is a great question. You know what? I think I'm going to say my grandfather.
Okay.
My grandfather was an incredible, on my dad's side of the family, an incredible man. I came from Cuba to the United States. My parents did, and he was an incredible man, a great hero in the Cuban original Cuban independence. So it'd be him because I didn't get a chance. I left Cuba when I was 9, so I didn't get a chance to spend a lot of time with him. But I really loved him a lot, and he was one of the smartest men that I knew from everything I heard from my dad later on in life.
Amazing. Great response. I think we can now connect a little bit more with Miguel. Miguel,
Yes,
a great
that's what Miguel
conversation.
Delgado. People say you don't look like a Miguel. So, well, let me tell you Miguel's story.
Exactly. Thanks a lot. A great again. Congrats on everything you have been building to you and the team. It's been a great pleasure to discuss a little bit on the key things that made my elite partners what it is today and what is going to be keep growing. So thanks a lot for sharing them out loud and to the audience.
I'm honored to be here with you, Martin. Thank you, and I wish you the best, man.
Talk soon. Bye bye.
Take care. Bye.